yours. I stole Jason's line. So today on Dice and Dragons, we're going to take you through a game that we've had for a little while, Jason, right?
Yes, and don't forget, she's already said it, but I'm Jason.
And I'm Julie.
Yes, so today we are reviewing Tiny Epic Galaxies. This will be the first of the Tiny Epic games that we review. We do have a few others, and we'll get to them eventually, hopefully sooner rather than later, because I do enjoy the idea of these nice, small, portable games. Now, Tiny Epic Galaxies is designed by Scott Almes and published by Gamelyn Games. I'm going to toss it over to Julie, who's going to tell you more about the game itself.
So it's a competitive dice chucking worker placement game, I think is the best way to describe it.
Yeah, you're going to be just deploying some ships, which essentially are workers, and throwing dice. I think you got it.
So it's a 1 to 5 player game that's on the box indicated for ages 14 and above. And I think that's because there's quite a few different strategies with this. And it plays in about 30 to 45 minutes, I think.
Yeah, I think definitely closer to the 30-minute mark, but I do think that with about 5 players, you could get up to that 45-minute mark. The last game we played was with 3 players. It took us about 30 minutes.
30, 35, yep.
Yeah, so about 10 minutes per player, which is not bad. Now let's talk about the games. I did spoil it a little bit. I said games. I meant game. What are you doing in the game? Well, you've got your galaxy, and you are trying to conquer planets to build an empire and be the most powerful empire at the end of the game. Now the game goes to 21 points. Once a player has reached 21 points, there will be a final round, ensuring that each player has had an equal amount of turns. Meaning if it's the first player that gets the 21 points first, everyone will get another turn. If it's the last player, well, the game ends right there. You also have a secret objective, which can give you bonus points. Now, what are you doing? You're going to be rolling dice. You're going to be using the different symbol on the dice to generate resources, deploy your ships to different systems, and try to capture those planetary systems and add them to your empire. I think I covered everything.
Think so.
All right, so what are we going to do now, Julie?
We're going to grab our drinks.
Grab our best friend.
Take it to the table.
Yeah, well, the nice thing about this one, I might be able to get this down to the proper time count that I've been trying to do over the last few videos. A little unsuccessfully, but don't worry, guys. I said we do it in the channel update, and we're working on it. Now we're going to take a look at the components that come in Tiny Epic Galaxies. Now you're going to get the top of the box here, which can also be used as a dice tray. You of course have the rule book. It comes with 7 dice. The dice do have different symbols on them, and we'll go through that quickly when we do the how to play. You've got your empire tracker here, and we'll just use the red one because it's more readily available to track your empire. You've got your culture marker right here, which during setup will start at 1. You then have your energy marker, which will start at 2. Then, as you can see, we've got the rocket ships. Now, I only took out 1 of each to not crowd everything. Each player has 4 rocket ships. The way it's going to work during setup is you'll have 2 of them starting in your galaxy, and 2 that can be unlocked on these positions as you level up your empire. Now, here is the activation bay where you're going to be placing your dice in the order that you use them. Now, the order can be very important because of certain things that players can do during their turn, so keep that in mind. Now, you also have the converter here, which lets you take 2 dice, and then you can take an inactive dice, one you haven't used, and pick any symbol, like the diplomacy symbol, for example, if you so choose. So that is the activation bay. Here we've got the cards for all of the different planetary systems. You can see up here what resource you generate if you roll an energy or a culture. You'll see the culture right there. Now, this is the track in order to capture the planet to score that point. And also, if you land on the planet, you may choose to use the planet ability. Once you've captured a planet, it can then go underneath your board, meaning that this ability will be under all of these boards right here, and you get an extra ability. Now, the other set of cards that we have are the secret mission cards, and we'll take a quick look at them. So these, during setup, you're going to be dealt 2, you are going to keep 1, and they give you bonus points at the end of the game. For example, Charger, you gain 3 victory points if you have the most energy at the end of the game. Elder, gain 2 victory points if you trigger the end of the game, and so on and so forth. Now, each player has 1, you will get 2, discard 1, and make sure that they they stay hidden so that other players don't know what you have. Now, I haven't taken this out of the packaging because I don't know exactly what it is, but I know it's a free mini expansion that we got in the version that we bought. So this is the Satellite Super Weapons expansion. I know this didn't come with all copies of the game. That's why I just left it in the packaging, and hopefully we'll get a chance to maybe review it and take a look at it at a later date. But there you have it. As you can see, there's not that many components in Tiny Epic Galaxies. So now we're going to go into our how to play of the game. We've kind of already showed you how to set up the board. And after that, it's just dealing out some cards. So it's very simple and straightforward. So keep it right here as we rock it off and begin to take over the universe. Just a quick add-on before we go into the how to play. I neglected to show you that there are 5 different galaxies. You did see the 5 colors, but I want to show you all 5. As you can see, they are all the same. And on the back of each of the galaxies, there is the Rogue Galaxy. Now, the reason why there is the Rogue Galaxy cards on the back is for when you are playing in solo mode. And you notice that there is a name for each of the different Rogue Galaxies. So one is hard mode. This one here is easy mode. And these are only used during the single player version of the game, which we have yet to play. So I won't be talking too much about that. We're really going to just be talking about the regular version of the game. Now, keep it right here as we are going to go back to the launch pad and actually rock it off into the how to play now. Now let's take a look at how you play Tiny Epic Galaxies. For those of you that fully watched the components, you saw a little bit on the setup already. As you know, secret mission cards, each player is dealt 2. You are able to keep 1. We need the activation payout. We have set up each player's galaxy with their rocket ships at their starting locations when they unlock. Empire level at starting value, culture at 1, energy at 2, and we've got 2 ships that we can use. Now, this track right here is the dice track, and as you can see, at our starting level, it says we've got 2 rocket ships, so that's why they're there, and we start with 4 die, meaning these 3 dice, which I'll just place here, are not going to be in play at the start of the game. Now, for the galaxy cards, what you're going to be setting up is there's always 2 plus the number of players, which is why we are starting with 4. Now what I'll do is I'll go through a couple of turns, explain the symbols, and you guys should get a good gist for the game. So we'll start with the blue player, and the first thing we do is roll the 4 dice. Now what we have right here is actually a fairly solid start. We've got the arrow, which means we're able to deploy 1 ship. Meaning we can take our ship, place it on the planet to trigger the planetary ability if we so choose, or place it in orbit to start capturing the planet. We have diplomacy, meaning we can move 1 up the diplomacy track. We have the economic, meaning we can move 1 up the economic track, which would mean if we deployed a planet here, we'd be able to advance him on either of these locations. Then finally, we've got the colony symbol, which means we can spend energy and culture to upgrade our empire. Now, what do we need to spend? That value is listed as here. So it'll take 2 energy to upgrade the empire to level 2 and unlock 5 dice, which is what we're probably going to do. But first and foremost, I want to decide where I want to go and what makes the most sense. Well, you know what? I like this economic planet, so I'm going to activate one of my rocket ships. I'm going to land it right here, and then we're going to move 1 up the economic track. Now, I do get 1 free reroll. I can spend 2 energy after my free reroll to roll again, but as I probably want to spend this, I just want to try to maybe get another better roll. I'm going to reroll this 1 die as I don't need the diplomacy. We roll it, and it's not great. This is going to be wasted because I really only have the resources to upgrade my empire once, which is what I'm going to do. And I will spend 2 energy, they go down to 0, And now my empire's up to level 2. Now, there is an option to follow. The way this works is another player can spend 1 culture to follow your action. In this case, the yellow player will spend 1 culture to follow the colony action, spend 2 energy, and immediately upgrade their empire to 2, meaning that they're going to be starting with 5 dice. Now, I don't need to activate this die, as it's useless for me, so we do not place it in the activation bay, meaning that players will not be able to follow this action if I don't play the dice. Now, that is the end of the blue player's turn. We now shift over to yellow, who is actually going to be starting with 5 dice. Let's go ahead and roll it up and see what we get. Well, we've got a lot of culture, a lot of diplomacy, which is not bad, economics, but we're not able to deploy our ship. Well, the one thing I do want to do is gain 1 culture. That's very good. Economics I don't really want. And we only really potentially need 2 diplomacy if we want to capture that diplomacy planet. So we'll take a chance and roll these 2 dice. And that was actually very lucky. Could have been gone horribly wrong. What we really would have liked as well would be the energy, which means we generate energy for all of the different energy planets. Meaning if I'd rolled one of those and activated it, I would have gained 2 energy as the yellow player. But we didn't get that. We got the colony ability, and it goes the same thing with culture. But to generate culture, one of your ships must be in orbit or landing on a culture planet. So in this case, if I'd rolled a culture and this was the scenario, I would have been able to gain another culture. All right, so we've covered the symbols fairly well. Let's put things back to where they were. What we're going to do, and you know what? I actually used this culture to gain a culture. That was a mistake. I can't do that. I don't have anything deployed. I actually should have, you know what? I should have re-rolled this. That was a mistake. And you know what? I got another double colony, which isn't great in any case. These are both going to waste. What we're going to end up doing is deploying our ship and spending the 2 diplomacy quickly to capture the card, which means we then return to the galaxy. We gain this card, meaning, actually, you know what? These aren't going to go to waste because we've now captured this card, meaning it goes underneath our player board. And I'm just going to slide the player board up here so make sure it stays on camera. So we may regress 1 enemy ship by 1 economic. Now that means we can take this, as we haven't used it yet, to regress the blue player's ship. We also now draw a new card as play will continue. Now what I'll do is I'm going to take a quick cut, and just to give you guys a better idea, as we didn't really generate any resources, I'll do 1 more turn. If you don't want to watch the next turn for each player, feel free to skip ahead to our review. It's down in the timestamps below. We'll just do 1 more quick turn, and we're going to get to our review. So keep it right here as we continue to rocket around the universe. And we are back to the blue player, and we have 5 dice as we upgraded our empire. And let's see what we get. Finally, some resource generation that I can actually use. Now, here's why the order, once again, is very important. We've got a ship and a ship on energy planets. So the first thing we're going to do is spend our energy to gain, the die to gain 2 energy, 1 from the galaxy, 1 from the planet. We then want to deploy our ship to the culture planet, which means now, unlike the mistake I made in my last one, I can spend this to gain a culture, meaning they're both at level 2. But I can also use this to potentially upgrade my my empire here by spending 2 energy and 1 culture. Let's see what happens. Let's roll the die. And you see this is energy. Now what I should have done is made that decision before I deployed this, and that's what I was hoping would happen to show you guys in how to play, because what I should have done was re-rolled that die first, not deployed the ship to spend the die now, which would then give me an opportunity for another 2 energy, which is what we're going to do, just trying to teach you guys the game. deploy the ship. And here, get the culture, which we still have on the board. Now, I can trigger this and upgrade my empire by spending 3 energy. And we now unlock a new ship, meaning I now have a 3rd ship that I'm able to use. And that would be the blue player's turn. Now we're going to go into the yellow player's turn. Unfortunately, I didn't make much progress towards capturing anything, but we are getting more powerful. So we roll the dice. And wow, that is a lot of culture, which for the moment is not very useful for us. First thing we want to use is the energy die for sure. And gain 2 energy. That's something that we're going to need. Now, we need to deploy our ship, otherwise the culture is useless. I'm actually just going to reroll all 4 dice, because without getting a ship out of the galaxy, it's totally useless. And yeah, not great, but it does give me an opportunity to use the converter. Now, what I'm going to do is, once again, gain 2 energy. Now, I'm going to place 2 die into the converter, which then lets me take this 3rd inactive die and switch it to any symbol that I want, which would mean I can now deploy a ship, which is what I really want to do as everything is stuck, even though upgrading would not be a bad idea. I'm going to deploy a ship and land it on this planet, as it's one of the more powerful planets. Now in this case, blue could then once again choose to follow, which I think is a good idea. Get their other ship on the player board, especially in an area where you can start generating some culture. There you have it. That's how you're going to be playing the game. You saw a little bit more of the intricacies in terms of the sequencing, and that's why I want to do this 2nd turn. And you even got to see the converter. So with that being said, we're now going to go on to our review of the game. So keep it right here as I'm rocketing off to join Julie back at the table. So Tiny Epic Galaxies. What did you think of the game? The first of the Tiny Epic series. Now, don't forget, though, they all play very differently. Maybe not all of them, but there's co-ops, there's competitive ones, there's zombies, there's also
this
kingdoms.
One's definitely competitive. Jason lured me, actually tried to get me to play. We played it at a game night with...
Yeah, the West Island Gamers group.
Yeah, and played it 5 players that time. And it took me a little while to figure out what was going on. And by the time I figured out what was going on, Jason had run away with the game, and there was no way I was catching up.
Just to let everyone know, I got one of the best cards in the game, and no one contested me and let me capture that planet, and it made it very easy for me. It really wasn't that I ran away with the game. It was just some poor decisions made by other players.
Including myself.
But it was your first game. Mine too. It's just, I was surprised they let me get it.
So the second time we played it, it was 3 players, and it had been a fair bit of time and a fair number of games in between, so it took me a little while again to get back into the swing of it. There are quite a few different moving pieces, and it is still a dice-tricking game, so it's still a question of luck as well, of what you're going to roll, what other people are going to roll, because you're all competing for similar planets.
Yeah, and our last game came down really to the last die roll. I made a Hail Mary to get extra points. We were playing with my brother, and he made his Hail Mary, and he ended up beating me by 1 point because he got the dice roll. I missed mine by 1.
So I mean, it should be... This is definitely not a game I would play just with you. Let's say that. Already, in a 3-player is much more obvious. When one of the things I don't like about semi-competitive games is when you're trying to steal resources from somebody else, and this definitely is still a component of this.
I don't think you're stealing. You're in competition. It's not like you're
no,
blocking people off.
There are at least 2 times in the game that you specifically went to get something because it would be more to your advantage to get it. You were trying to prevent me from getting it. Or preventing somebody else because it was a better card. It's a card you wanted and you didn't want me to get it. You wanted to get it. So there's that part of it as well. That's part of the game, and it makes sense. I mean, you're trying to win the game. So I understand why you're doing it, but it's the type of scenario that I don't enjoy as much. I'd rather competitive games that you're not directly trying to say, okay, I'd rather she not get that card. It'd be better for me to get it, so I'm going to try to make sure that I get it. This is also
I have to disagree with you on that, though, at least in this game, because I would say in a lot of the times, like, there are certain moves that are better than others. And if you're looking at, like, the spread of the planets, especially in our last game, the main reason why I went to that planet is also the die roll. It wasn't because it made, like, I was trying to get it from her. It was also where I could spend the most resources. Depending on what you roll, if you roll a lot of diplomacy and economics, that's going to tell you where you're going to go to maximize what you do in that turn. It wasn't directly related to stopping you. It was that if I didn't go to that planet, it wasn't.
No, you could have gone to another planet, but that's the one where...
No, it was the only one with economics at that point in time. But it also depends on your secret mission as well, which does bring a little bit more of that competitive element. But it was the only economics planet, and that's why I ended up going there.
In any case, that's part of the dynamic that I don't enjoy as much. There's a lot of moving pieces and strategy. A lot of there's a dynamic where you can copy, and that's something that honestly I don't appreciate in the game. It's just not something I enjoy as part of that game. So in any case, it should be something that I like. We've played it twice. I didn't love it both times, and I don't think that it's because it's a bad game. I can see why people enjoy it. They've been tight games both times. Actually, the first time I don't think it was as tight. There's still a couple points.
No, it was tight for second place, but I kind of ran away with the game because I got the card, and there's one card in the game that pretty much gives you the ability to generate a lot of culture. So I was pretty much always like flush with culture, could follow anybody. It was very difficult for anyone to.
And I can see why people would like it. It's just not my style of game, which is why I don't think I enjoy it as much as other people do.
No, and I actually really enjoy the game. And I get why you don't like the follow mechanic. Part of the reason why the follow mechanic exists is to make sure that the game will end in about 30 minutes. If you didn't have that follow mechanic, the game would last a lot longer. It also adds an element of strategy as to how you're going to be using your dice, because someone may decide to follow an earlier action and then not be able to follow a later action. That's something that I can appreciate. But as Julie said in the intro, there's a reason why they say 14 plus, because of all those moving pieces. It's not as simple as a game like Yahtzee or even Dice Tomatoes that we played on the channel. You really need to think about the way you're going to be laying out your dice, triggering your actions to maximize your resources. And there is that luck element. Now, there are some luck mitigation aspects in the game with the converter, but I have to say I really don't think it works as well as it could with the converter, because it's going to cost you essentially 3 dice. 2 dice that you're spending and then 1 dice to convert. Which, to be honest, I think we've seen it used once in the 2 games that we played.
Yeah, in the first game it was used a lot more, but...
Yeah, once or twice. So it was used this last game. We decided not to use it. There wasn't any good opportunities. What I do like about the game and just is how quick it is to learn. Once you grasp the concepts of the game, anyone can play. As Julie said, there is a lot of strategy to it, and that definitely comes into play as you become more experienced with the game, which is another thing that I do like. So the game is a lot of fun. It's well made, well designed, easy to get to the table. It's not a space hog, and it does what it sets out to do very well. But as Julie said, there's reasons why she doesn't like it, and I completely understand that. It's definitely just maybe a little bit more involved than what you would like from a game that's largely based around dice.
Yeah, there's maybe it's the competitive side of it. It's yeah, I think it's probably just the fact that it's that it is layered on strategy and that it is competitive. I think is the two things that, not that I don't like strategic games, but this one I'd rather build strategies with other people than against other people. So are you ready to rate it? Yeah,
I'm ready to rate it. So this game is going to be a 7.5 for me. Now, the game may actually be an 8. There is an expansion in the box. I do show it in the components quickly, but I left it in the bag because we actually haven't played with it, but we did get an extra expansion. I don't believe that was in the earlier releases of the game. Now you can get a full expansion for the game called Into the Black, which actually maybe addresses some of the things that you don't like. But the primary reason it's a 7.5 is there are some very powerful cards. And depending on those cards coming out and the luck involved in being able to use them, people can become very powerful and run away with the game, which is what we saw in our first game and a little bit in our second game, but really only towards the end of the game that happened.
Yeah. For me, it's a 6.5. It would be a 6 if I base it just on my opinion of it. But seeing other people's reaction to it and their enjoyment, I'll give it that extra half because I can see how other people appreciate it. But for me, if it was based just on my liking of the game, it would be a 6.
No, and that's a fair assessment. You don't have to like every game that I like.
Okay. I know that.
All right. Well, we're going to grab our drinks. We will remind you guys to like, comment, subscribe. We'll have some videos popping up down here in front of us. Also, what should they do when they subscribe, Julie?
Should click the notification so you get notified when we have new content.
Yes, and there will be some Tiny Epic content showing up eventually. This is our first video, so we'll try to find something that's related to this game. Well, I'm wearing my Andromeda gear, so maybe it'll be something space related.
Maybe. Keep playing games.
Keep playing games. You'll win the next time. You've come very close.
It's not because I don't win that I don't like it.